Okay, everybody, welcome. Should we get started? You ready? I'm psyched. This is a very, very delightfully happy occasion, something our faculty look forward to throughout the year. So glad you're all with us tonight. So my name is Rick Koss. I'm one of the faculty members in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning, and I'll be your host today as we celebrate the achievements of our fall 2020 and spring 2021 graduates. We have a really nice program ready for you. As you can see here, we're going to start with our remarks from myself, followed by our department chair, Professor Lakshmi Ramasubramanian. Then we're very excited to have you all meet one of Los Angeles City Council members. Her name is Nithya Raman. She has some remarks she'd like to share. Following those remarks, we have remarks from one of our graduating students, Leiden George, who's been selected by his peers to address all of you today. After that, probably I would say the heart of our event, this is where we will say remarks about each of our graduating students' master's research. So this will be your chance, family and friends, to see your special person highlighted. After that, we'd like to present some special awards, some scholarships, and some certificates. And then our department chair will close the event. Now, I'd like to plant a little seed with all of you that we're going to have we're calling it a virtual after party. So after our department chair's closing remarks, we'd like to invite you to stay with us. We've set up a pretty interesting virtual conference room that family and friends, everybody's invited to. And we think it might be a really fun way for all of you to meet in small groups and talk to each other as if you were in a little conference room. So we'll take care of that a little bit later. So today is a very special day for the faculty in our 50-year-old department. We're coming together to celebrate the many accomplishments of our students. And naturally, of course, we prefer to meet in person, but we really hope that this virtual alternative will be the next best thing. Rituals really matter in our society, especially after we reach an important milestone in our lives. So basically, we refuse to let this pandemic get in the way of that, since our graduates have earned this acknowledgement and this celebration. So again, we're delighted you're all here. On the slide, you can see the full-time faculty members as well as our part-time faculty members, many of whom are here tonight to celebrate the accomplishments of our graduating students. And some quick thank yous, of course. Our graduates for joining us today. We're so happy you're here. Almost all of our graduating students were able to join us tonight, so we're excited you're here. Special thanks to our faculty members. Thank you for being here, taking the time to celebrate. Special thanks to our awesome department coordinators, Joanne Lamb and Jasmina Tamayo, the women behind the scenes that keep everything running. A little bit later, you'll meet LA Councilmember Nithya Raman. She'll be here to address us, followed by one of our graduating students, Leiden George, who's going to make some remarks on behalf of our graduating students. And we'd also like to thank a number of department supporters. And the department chair, Lakshmi, will make a few remarks along those lines shortly. And once again, special thanks to friends, family of our graduating students. You really helped them get to the finish line. So thank you so much for being here. So a few things to keep in mind. We're planning to finish up around 7:15 Pacific time. And like I said, we hope you'll stick around after that because we have something really fun planned. It's called a REMO room. And a REMO room effectively is like a little virtual conference room. So more details are coming about that later. Once again, just a reminder, please stay muted throughout the event, even when we announce your special person. We really think that this will keep the event moving in a smooth way, but please, by all means, write your comments in the chat, and there's also a little reactions button at the bottom. You may want to use that button to express your emotions. So chat, reactions, those are some great ways for you to stay in this conversation, but please do stay muted throughout the event. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce my colleague, Dr. Lakshmi Ramasubramanian. Lakshmi is an architect and an urban planner, as well as a professor in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning here at San Jose State University. Lakshmi holds a master's degree in city planning from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and a PhD in environment behavior studies from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, in addition to degrees in architecture from her home country of India. Lakshmi is the author of 2 books, one of which is Geographic Information Science and Public Participation. The other is Essential Methods for Planning Practitioners, Skills and Techniques for Data Analysis, Visualization, and Communication. Lakshmi has also authored numerous peer-reviewed book chapters, journal articles, and conference proceedings. In 2019, Lakshmi was the recipient of the Dale Scholar Prize given by the Department of Urban and Regional Planning at Cal Poly Pomona in recognition of her research that links theory with practice. As a scholar and educator, Dr. Ramasubramanian is committed to preparing thoughtful and engaged planning practitioners who can work collaboratively to address critical, technical, and societal challenges while simultaneously addressing issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. In her current research, funded by the National Science Foundation, she's working with educators and practitioners to empower academic women in the geospatial sciences. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Lakshmi to welcome us today.
Thank you, Rick. Colleagues, it's a real pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to our event. Graduates, today is a milestone moment. You have worked so hard over the past years, and especially the last year that was complex and challenging like no other. Each of you rose to the challenges you encountered, and you have prevailed. As students, you have supported each other to accomplish your academic goals. You have found time to build community, meeting up for socially distanced social events, and for organizing and mobilizing your energies to address social justice challenges in our city and our community. The faculty and I applaud you for your strength, your courage, and your commitment towards your education. We stand with you in support, and we will be there for you as you move through your career. Families and friends of our graduates, a warm welcome to you. To our colleagues in leadership in the College of Social Sciences and at the university, thank you for your steadfast support of our department. It's my pleasure to give you a little history about our amazing Department of Urban and Regional Planning. We are a department that is unique, bringing together geography and urban and regional planning. We have faculty experts in architecture, housing, economic development, urban history, urban sociology, cultural geography, immigration, transportation, GIS, remote sensing. I could keep going. Our faculty are recognized for their accomplishments within SJSU and on the national and international stage. The first Master in Urban Planning degree, as I understand the history, degrees were awarded in 1972. Scott Lefevre graduated with that first class, and he has championed our department since that time. He has taught in our program, and he helped establish the Certificate in Real Estate Development in 2014, along with his colleagues, Mark Lazzarini, Ellie Reinhardt, and the late Charles Davidson. Earlier this year, Scott gave SJSU a $1 million gift to create in the College of Social Sciences and in our department, the first ever endowed professorship. Scott, thank you. Thank you so much. Scott recognizes that planners and developers need to consider how development decisions affect people and communities. With his generous gift, the department has invited Kelly Snyder, an urban planner, to become our first endowed professor of the practice in our department. Welcome, Kelly. So let's take a moment to thank Scott and recognize him for his generous support of our department and for being an all-round ally in so many different ways. Thank you, Scott. The geography program has also been growing by leaps and bounds. So in fall 2020, two new faculty members joined us, Dr. Ahura Zandya Tashbar and Dr. Carrie Rohrmeyer. They joined us to build and grow geographic information science on our campus and our department. Despite the challenges of remote working, these two colleagues have become active and visible in the Bay Area through their research and service activities. Dr. Bill Lester also joined us last year in bringing with him his national profile in labor economics and economic development. Our tenured and tenure-track faculty and our lecturers work side by side to support the growth of our department and to ensure the well-being of our students and our alumni. We are constantly growing and innovating in order to offer the best academic and holistic educational experience for our students in all our degree programs. Our students have won awards from the Northern California chapter of the APA for their excellent work on their studio project. Their research and scholarship has also been supported and encouraged by our community partners, including the San Jose Rotary Club. Thanks to the support of our friend and ally, Jeff Hare, the San Jose Rotary Club is awarding 3 scholarships to our students, about which you'll hear a little bit more later today. Our generous donors include the founding department chair of Urban, Don Rothblatt, and former geography department chair, Richard Takeda. They support our students through scholarships. We also have several donors in our alumni base. Thanks for everything you do to keep our department strong and vibrant. We are also fortunate to have several research and community partners who support our work, including the Manhattan Transportation Institute at SJSU. And I believe Dr. Hillary Nixon is here, and she has a special connection with us, being a former chair of our department. The city of San Jose is an amazing ally, as is Comm University. Graduates, you should be delighted that you are part of this vibrant and growing department. We look forward to hearing more about your accomplishments shortly and also socializing with you after the formal ceremonies are over. With that, I'd like to hand it back to my colleague, Rick. And Rick, you're doing a fantastic job being the MC.
Thanks, Lakshmi. I appreciate that. Okay, let me check to see if Councilmember Raman is here. Councilmember, are you with us right now? Okay, we're a little bit early, so she'll be joining us shortly. In her place at the moment, I'd like to invite our student speaker, Leiden George, to join us. Let me show you a really good picture of Leiden. You ready? There he is. So Leiden is our student speaker for today, and I have the great pleasure of introducing him. Every year, a student speaker is selected by a vote of the graduating students, and this year, the students have selected Leiden to address us today. I've had the very, very great pleasure of working with Leiden in a number of my courses, and I guarantee that he's going to change the world for the better. Later, you'll have an opportunity to learn more about Leiden's accomplishments, as well as that of our other graduating students. So Leiden, we very much look forward to your speech. Whenever you're ready, sir, go for it.
Oh man, thank you for that glowing introduction, Rick. Yeah, I've had the pleasure to work with you through the duration of the program, and I got to call you out a little bit, man. Don't let that pleasant demeanor and that wonderful smile fool you. This man is a tyrant when it comes to grading papers. But it's all for the better. It's to challenge us and push us. So very much appreciate it. And I hope I can change something in this world. But yeah, my name is Lyden George. Very, very honored to be the speaker on behalf of our graduates today. Looking forward to our keynote speaker as well. Hopefully she gets here at some point. Would be nice to do this in person, but at least with the Zoom, look, we got people from all over. I know in the chat, people are saying various places. So that's what's up. We're gonna focus on the positive. So once again, thank you everybody for coming. You know, everyone's here to support their loved one as they embark on this journey to get a master's degree in urban planning. Like, wow, what a tremendous milestone in life. And I know what everybody's thinking. What the is urban planning? You tell people, oh yeah, I'm studying urban planning. Oh, what's that? I've been in this program for over 2 years, done extensive research and reports and presentations. People ask me, oh, what's urban planning? I'm like, I don't know. Go look it up. I have an idea. It's really hard to succinctly describe, but I'll try a little bit. Basically, we just think about stuff. We think about the world around us. We think about the living environment. We think about the built environment. We just think of all these different elements of a place. And I guess we try to apply them to government process. And through that, try to come up with ways to organize that space and make it the best space it can be. Sure, that works, yeah. So you know, the topic is as complex as life. There's all different people that are in these cities, all different circumstances, situations, histories. So the conversation is never ending, and we just kind of sit in the pocket and have those talks and do what we can. So most of the people that are, or not most, but a number of people that are graduating, we're all part of a similar cohort that we had our 200 class, which is, it's like planning 101, and we had it with Professor Gordon Douglas, and he's also somebody that I've worked with very closely over the past 2 years. Great dude. So this guy, I've told this story a bunch. One week, he's like, hey, this week we're going to talk about, does planning actually matter? And so the whole discussion, all the readings led up to, well, planning's been around for 100 years. People have been writing these wonderful visionary plans of how to change cities and how to make things better. And where have we gotten? Have we made any progress? And not a whole lot. I mean, we have, but I know a number of us, including myself, I left that class feeling like, oh, maybe I should change fields here. But it's all jokes. It was an amazing class, and it really challenged us, though. It really challenged us to say, yo, what is this field actually doing? Like, what are you doing? Not just accepting like, oh, we do this stuff, but it's like, what's the meaning? So something that well, in the end, I should say, I've gone through this program, and I don't think planning's meaningless. I think that it's really impactful. I think that the work we do facilitates, at the very minimum, facilitates like incredible discussion about these issues, and highlights it on a government level, and just strives to do the best. And another question it brings up is just the idea of, what does it mean for something to be meaningful? Like, what is valuable? What do we as a society ascribe as valuable? And something that comes up for me as an example of this is where I grew up. So I'm in San Jose right now. I grew up in Gilroy, which is 30 minutes south of here, in a place called the Lily Gardens Apartments. And this is a Section 8 funded low-income housing project. And so low income, so it's based on your income. That's what your rent is, AKA socialism, social housing. I grew up in this place my whole life, and it could be characterized by the ills of concentrated poverty. There's gangs, drugs, just lack of opportunity that kind of perpetuates those things. From a planning perspective, like I look at it now and I'm like, oh, they just threw that thing on the cheapest plot of land. It's like surrounded by industrial land, next to the old freeway, next to the railroad. The nearest grocery store is 2 miles away, so you can't really walk and sustain yourself. You have to have a car. Poorly planned. But for me, I grew up there. I'm like, oh, it made me realize that like people are people. No matter where you go, everyone's kind of the same. Everyone wants the same stuff. Some people fall victim or susceptible to these coping mechanisms that aren't productive. And yeah, but also like for me as a kid growing up, I'm like, man, I got a bunch of friends. Like Gilroy is primarily, it's like San Jose. It's like a mini San Jose. So it's mostly single family homes. And I thought it was weird for kids to like grow up on a block and not know anybody or like know one person. Like I grew up around a bunch of kids. And but also being older, like reflecting on this, I saw just the value in having stable housing. And that was the biggest takeaway for me was I grew up in one place. And if it was left to the free market, we'd be thrown around, we'd have to move to a different city or who knows what. So in spite of everything bad, we had a place to live. I knew I had a place to go home to. And so that permeates through your whole life and gives you, confidence to do, whatever else it might be trying to do. So yeah, and going back to like, what do we value? Somebody could read about this, on a piece of paper and be like, oh, that place is blighted, crime, whatever, tear it down. For me though, growing up on the inside of it and knowing it organically, I'm like, nah, there's like core fundamental good things that are there, but it just needs work. Needs to be some better implementation. And for me, like that's what I feel is my responsibility to be like, I could be that guy. I could step in and be like, yo, I have this experience. I know that we can make this work better. So that's where I grew up. Now, so like I said, I live in San Jose now. That wasn't as impactful as I wanted it to be. I don't know if you guys can see my picture. That's in front of San Jose State. I'm sprinkling myself. But hey, I got peoples with me. This is a small subsection of my San Jose constituency. Also MEP graduates, some affiliates, and these people are such an important part of my community. And it was the MEP program that brought them into my life. And San Jose is just this big, like if you're not from here, San Jose is just this big fragmented place. It's really hard to make connections and stuff. And so the program, so when we're talking about value, one of the values of the program to me, and I've always, attested to this. Y'all can go now. You don't have to, you don't have to just stand there. I'll move it this way so you can at least be in the picture. So the program, it's the collaborative aspect of it is, to me, one of the biggest benefits of it. What you doing, guy? My guy. It don't matter. One of the benefits of the program, one of the biggest benefits is the collaborative aspect. It's getting to know people that you wouldn't normally get to know. And I feel like it's a microcosm of the Bay Area itself, that we have this rich diversity that, we just get put in proximity to each other and we get to learn each other's stories and really get to know each other. And I'm gonna bring it back, don't worry. What you learn though from people is that everybody has their strengths, they have their interests, they have what they bring to the table that's, awesome. And everybody plays their part. And that's something that I see within our program. But since we're planners and since our, job is to look at systems, look at the way the built environment is, the way things work, on a larger scale, I think we need to apply that to the society at large, which is that everybody plays their part. Everybody has value, like no matter your occupation, no matter your race or how much money you have or whatever, these boundaries that we perceive, we should be thinking of ways to put people together to where they can spend the time to know each other, to know each other's stories, to know, what makes them tick and what their strengths are. And chances are somebody's gonna look at them and be like, yo, you should do this. And you don't have that opportunity unless, you have the environment where people can truly kind of get to know each other and talk. So I could keep going on and on and on and on, but that's it. I think everybody, no matter what, whether you're a planner, whatever you might do, I think we all have the ability to, in our lives, in our jobs, to really kind of think, how do we connect? How do we break down those barriers, those boundaries, and really create opportunity for ourselves and for other people and just these vibrant communities. So I'm gonna leave you a quote from a famous Bay Area artist, Keek the Sneak. Yarranin, it's a Bay thing. We out here.
Leiden, sir, you have earned that drink. I think you should drink more as the night goes on. Well done. Thank you. By the way, Leiden, who else is there behind you?
Okay, so we got Manny, who is also a graduate. We got Hazel, Savannah, both graduates, and we got Olivia, who is MUP affiliate, but she took a hiatus. And then we got Henry. Where's Henry? Say what's up.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Leiden, that's great. I'm so excited to introduce the other graduates a little bit later. Manny, Hazel, Savannah, Psyched. I'm glad you're all together. That's great. Leiden, thank you so much for those remarks. It's just you all the way. Just thank you so much. Well done. Well done. Okay, Councilmember Rahman, you are now with us, correct?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Hi, welcome. So let me go ahead and introduce our keynote speaker for today, LA Council Member Nitya Raman. She is a mother of 5-year-old twins, an urban planner. She's the co-founder of the homeless services nonprofit SELA. She's the former executive director of Time's Up Entertainment. And in addition to that, she's the current representative of Los Angeles's 4th Council District. Nitya ran for office on a platform of delivering compassionate and effective services for people experiencing homelessness, building more affordable housing, and moving faster to meet Los Angeles' city's climate goals. And she won a historic victory, becoming the first challenger in 17 years to defeat a sitting city council member. Councilmember Raman, we're so delighted that you're here today. Thank you for taking the time, and we look forward to your remarks.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. This is such a pleasure and a privilege to be here speaking to an audience of fellow urban planners. It's really exciting, and it's really exciting that other planners would look at what I'm doing in LA and see that as a path for themselves. That is something I find really moving. And, I'm very grateful and touched that you would have wanted my presence here. So thank you again. I've worked in a lot of roles since I graduated from my master's in urban planning. I was a community organizer in India, working with people who lived in slums and informal settlements there, who were fighting for things like running water, for toilets, for recognition for informal work that they were doing in their own neighborhoods. I worked briefly in city government many years ago here in LA, working for the city administrative office, doing work on homelessness. I was a nonprofit leader, and now I'm in elected office. And I feel like none of these are roles where I had the title of planner. But in every single one of them, my planning degree has been fundamental to my work. It has undergirded all of the work that I've done in all of these roles. It's given me a perspective, the perspective of looking at cities and at systems and at justice that has shaped every part of the work that I've done. It's shaped all my politics, it shapes my activism, and it shaped my desire to bring about positive change. And I think this institution is so focused on justice and so focused on inclusivity that I imagine that you share that, and that the curriculums that your professors have put together here also share that focus and that emphasis. And I think that our degrees are incredibly special. They give us professional mastery, but they also give us a moral core from which to view the world and from which to take our steps forward as professionals in this world. And I think that that's so incredibly important. I'm here to tell you that this degree, I think, especially given my new role, is more vital than ever. And I think whatever you choose to do with it, I think I want to encourage every single one of you, not just to do the work of being a professional planner, but also to delve into the broader political landscape of the areas in which you're going to work. I feel like a lot of American cities like Los Angeles are at a crucial turning point in their history right now. And particularly true, I think, of cities in California. I'm sure you've been reading all the stories about housing costs, about homelessness, about people leaving the state and attributing that to challenges that cities are facing. I mean, this is at the core of this state's future, the work that you're doing, the research that you're doing, the answers that you're going to be providing, the city governments that you're going to be leading. These places are going to be the answers to the biggest challenges that this state is facing. I stay up at night worrying about Los Angeles, and I'm sure you all worry about cities across California and across the country. Are housing costs going to go up so much that our cities end up being exclusively for the rich? Are our cities going to drive inequality even further because of the rules that have governed their development for so long? Is our homelessness crisis going to continue to grow? Are we going to continue to build cities that are dependent on individual automobiles? Each of these questions, each of these are challenges, each of these are problems, and the solutions and the challenges themselves are all deeply interconnected with the others. And cities are so complex. And I feel like the only way that we can address them is with comprehensive thinking, with systems level approaches, the kind of analysis that you've learned to do in this program. How we plan our cities going forward holds the key to how we address these big social challenges. And one of the reasons I continue to be inspired by urban planning is that I think cities hold so many challenges within them, but at their best, if cities can realize the promise of what they are supposed to be, if we as urban planners can push the rules that govern cities so that they can deliver on their promise as engines of economic mobility, as places of opportunities, as places, for me, this is the most important part of living in a city, of being in a city, and of representing a city. If a city can be a place that truly fosters love between its residents, that fosters inclusiveness and understanding, then we can solve those big challenges that I just listed above, and that the key to solving them lies in how we think about cities. But here's the problem, and here's what I grapple with in this role, and I'm sure all of you have grappled with it as you've studied the history of planning. Historically, planning and progressive policies, progressive politics, I think haven't always sat comfortably together. That hasn't been the alignment that we've had in this profession it has been in recent years, and it certainly was part of my education when I got my master's, but I don't think it's always been this core of the work that we've done as planners. You know, I think for many years, and if you read the history of Los Angeles and how planners and developers and real estate companies that employed planners and employed people who thought about the shape of this city, if you read about the history of this city, planning and the real estate industry worked hand in hand in the government of Los Angeles for many years. And planners got a reputation for putting dollar signs and large-scale development over the environment, over people, over especially the most vulnerable people in our cities. And too often, in the name of planning, in the name of ambitious visions for cities, we destroyed working class neighborhoods in the name of slum clearance, in the name of building more freeways, and we separated vibrant communities of color. We zoned in ways that separated and segregated people in our cities instead of making them more inclusive. And in response to these very real challenges with how we thought about planning in cities, in a lot of which was actually driven by the environmental movement, especially here in Los Angeles, residents sought to take that planning power back, and residents sought to change how planning was practiced. So planning became more participatory, became more centered around questions of local control. It became more focused on making sure communities were able to have a bigger say over decision-making that that shaped their own neighborhoods in front of them. Power, at least in theory, was supposed to devolve from a central planning agency to neighborhoods, to communities. It was supposed to empower ordinary people to play a bigger role in how we plan and how we shape. And I think that process has been amazing in many, many ways. It's accomplished a lot of good. And I feel like participatory planning, I mean, I took like 5 classes on it. It is part of the work that we do as planners. It is part of our process as much as learning GIS was, or as much as understanding any of the broader concepts that we were learning. Participation is at the core of our work. And it wasn't always that way. That was a new thing. That was in response to the challenges that we had in planning and to the challenges of how we saw cities developing. And yet, even that has been challenging, right? Because when we had more local control, when we've empowered cities to participate more, when we've empowered neighborhoods to participate more, that participation, that participatory process has, at least in Los Angeles and in some of the neighborhoods that I work with, it has driven the very inequality that we've sought to erase. If you prioritize those who have the knowledge and the time and the resources to participate in planning, to make their voices heard over those who may not have those resources available to them, you can empower wealthier people, you can empower people who have more resources to shape space at the absence of other voices. We demanded participation from people, but too often, at least in the LA, the conversations and their outcomes were dominated by the limited number of people who could afford to participate, you know? And so I think in LA, to me, this posed a real problem. What was my role as a planner? What should I be doing in this? And to me, the answer actually was to push harder to bring more people in. I think we as planners have the responsibility to step outside of our offices, to not retreat from public discourse, but to engage in it more fully and more robustly. I think we need to talk openly with people about the values that we hold. We need to talk openly about the outcomes that we want to see for our cities and how smart planning and smart rules about the city can achieve them. And I think at the end of the day, if people are deeply engaged, if people are empowered with the knowledge, that people will advocate for a city that can benefit us all. And that's actually the reason why I ran for office. my election, my campaign was a planner's race. It was all about increasing participation in our city politics and in conversations around city planning here in Los Angeles. This was the entire reason why I ran. This was the entire premise behind the race. So as recently as the last election cycle here in LA, which was in 2015 for municipal races, I believe, yes. Just a few thousand votes determined who won a city council seat here in LA. And each city council district in our city was enormous. We have the district that I govern now has more than 250,000 residents in it. And we only have 15 city council members for a city of 4 million. So these are massive districts, and council members have a huge amount of power. And they determined how money was spent. They determined how resources were dedicated in the city. They determined the priorities of the city. And that means that this 8,000 voters, very few voters, right, out of 250,000 residents, determined the course of city policies. They determined what the priorities of the city were. And very often in the past here in LA, the people who participated in municipal politics were homeowners. They didn't represent the diversity of Los Angeles, even though this is a city that is mostly non-white. This is a city that is mostly renters. Yet the people who dominated City Hall politics and the policies that were coming out of City Hall were not representative of the city as a whole. And I think this was in large part because of who participated in these municipal elections. And so the reason I decided to participate in this election, the election that got me here, was because I saw in our 2020 election a real opportunity. So this was the first time in Los Angeles that our municipal elections and our federal elections were overlapping, right? So I knew that we would have a lot of people who are going to be excited about picking who their Democratic primary candidate was. And I knew that we'd have a ton of people who are showing up at the polls in the fall to vote against Trump, because I live in LA County. So obviously they were showing up here mostly to vote against our federal government, right? And I knew that there would be a lot more people at the polls than ever before. And I knew that if we could just get people to get excited about the down ballot elections, if we could get people to get excited about local government, about what city policy was, and about what a city council person had the potential to do or had the potential to change in LA, that we could get them to look down ballot. They were already going to be at the polls. I didn't need to get them to the polls. I just needed them to care about our city politics. And so that's exactly what we did here in this district. We started by talking about why this race mattered. So you care about federal politics? Great. Well, you should also care about what's happening locally. We started to talk about how even the most complex problems, our housing prices, our homelessness prices, were connected to decisions that were being made at City Hall. And we really connected those policies to what people were seeing in their own homes, their own rising rents, the streets around them, what they felt in their own neighborhoods. And we got the message out in incredibly proactive ways. So when you run in California, you use a political software called PDI. Okay, that's what you use for most elections. And if you've ever canvassed for a local candidate, you've probably used it when you've gone door to door for them. That platform, like all of these political data platforms, tells you who's going to be a likely voter and who's not going to be a likely voter. And it tells you basically to ignore the people who weren't traditionally going to vote in these municipal races. But our campaign did the opposite. It did not ignore any of the voters. We started to hit places where our political data told us that people were unlikely to vote. We went into apartment buildings and knocked on every door in an apartment building when we could. This was in the primary when we could do door-to-door campaigning before COVID. We had the largest volunteer ground operation of any city council candidate in the history of this city. And we instinctively and intentionally courted those votes that other people wrote off. And in Los Angeles, this meant making a special effort to reach renters, to reach immigrants, to reach people who didn't speak English as their first language, and who had historically never had a single person knock at their door to tell them about a city council race. And it wasn't even just knocking at their doors. In the general election, when we couldn't knock at doors, we wrote postcards. We had the largest postcard writing operation of any city council candidate in history. We had volunteers write over 60,000 postcards. We dropped off bags of lit with Post-it notes on them saying, if you care about your city, you should check this candidate out. And neighbors wrote that for their neighbors. We inspired 2,000 volunteers to get involved in a city council race for Los Angeles, which was, again, the most number of people who had ever participated as volunteers in a local race. And participation rose as a result. So I ran in a high participation district, right? So a lot of races were won with just a few thousand voters. My high participation district in the city of Los Angeles, out of 180,000 registered voters in the last general election that brought the incumbent I ran against to power, 24,000 people voted. In my race, because of the change in election timings and because of the incredible hustle that our campaign had, over 130,000 people voted. And I won my race with over 70,000 votes, making me someone who had never been involved in local politics here in LA, or actually in anywhere at all, made me the candidate to reach office in Los Angeles with the most votes in city council history, which is incredible. So I'm not asking you all to run for city council, although I know for this institution, I think a lot of you end up working in city council. It's right down the street, isn't that right? And that's amazing. So I'm not asking you all to run for city council. I don't think this is the only path to increasing participation, but I do think that realizing the promise of participation takes an incredible amount of work. And I think that you as planners have a role in driving that larger conversation around equity, around land use, and around planning. And because we need not just more voters who understand those connections, but people who are calling into city council meetings who understand those connections, people who know when to participate in local politics, who know those connections. And I think we need more planners involved in public discussions about all of these things. And so that's what I wanted to ask all of you to do today, is to never forget that your voice is important, and that the connections that you're making in your own work and in your own studies about how important your work is and how it shapes everything around you, particularly in a state like California, how important that perspective is to shaping the future of this state and of the city that you're working in. I do want to make something clear, because now I've been in office for about 5 months. Politics or social change, however, whatever level, however you choose to engage in it, it's not for the faint of heart. I guess I am competitive. It turns out that I am competitive. I never thought that about myself, but I guess I am competitive, but I didn't realize how much of planning work and how much of city council work is about conflict and is about having conversations that are at their root about fundamental disagreements about how the vision of the city for the future. And I think after campaigning for 15 months, and having served in office for about 5, I can tell you that this is the most conflict-ridden position I've ever held in my life. And it's the hardest job I've ever had. And I still don't know how to cope. I don't know how to wake myself up every single day and come into office knowing that I will have a fundamental disagreement with someone else about what we want for the future of this city. But I do think that if we can find ways to have those conversations, and not just to have those conversations, but to find ways to compromise in those conversations, I think that we can get to a better future here. I think that affecting real change in the world is really slow and really hard. So I want to also advise all of you, in addition to exhorting you to get involved, you have to go easy on yourself, celebrate the small victories, allow yourself time to rest and to recharge, because that is the only way that you'll have the strength to keep going. And I think this particular class knows that, because you didn't just graduate now, you finished through a global pandemic. Which is incredibly challenging. And you've made it here. So congratulations to each and every one of you. You've already, I think, climbed an immense mountain. And I think if you choose to do this work that we've been doing, that I've been doing here in LA, I think there'll be many more mountains to climb. But you've already shown that you have the wherewithal, the internal resources, and the community with your fellow classmates to be able to overcome and to work with one another and to achieve your goals. And I wanted to thank you again for having me today, for inviting me to be here and to share this very incredible and inspiring moment with you. And really to wish you the very, very, very best for your future. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, Councilmember Rahman, thank you so much. That was beyond inspirational. Before I forget, before you go, Councilmember, let me encourage you to go through the Zoom comments. I think you've really inspired many of us here today.
Oh.
So that might make you feel good.
Thank you. This was not a conflict-ridden moment. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. I'm glad we could give you, 20 minutes of conflict-free material. So that's great. Thank you so much for your remarks. And please stay around as long as you can. We know you're busy. Whenever you need to go, please feel free. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you again all for having me.
Okay, so graduates, family, and friends, we're getting to the heart of the moment here where we get to introduce each of our graduates one by one. So get ready for some Zoom cheers. Before I forget, colleagues who are presenting, that's Bill and Gordon and Serena and Kerry, just please make sure you have your remarks document ready to go and open. We're going to go through our graduates by last name. So you'll have a chance to expect your special person. So if you've ever wondered what it is that gets urban planners excited, I think the council members' remarks certainly helped. But this part of the ceremony will also help open your eyes. And I should also mention that we have some geography students with us today, and you'll get to learn about their important research as well in just a moment. So this academic year, we have 38 students who are ready to graduate with a master's degree in urban planning or a master's or bachelor's in geography. And these graduates are joining an expanding network of over 1,000 alumni from our program. And I'm really thrilled that 28 of our graduates are here today to celebrate with us. So let me go ahead and explain a few details about this portion of the ceremony. As my fellow advisors and I introduce each graduate, we'll tell you a little bit about their master's planning report. And in our program, a master's planning report is much like a thesis. The urban planning students have worked on this for their final 3 semesters in the program. And they work intensively on these projects by designing and carrying out complex research that builds their skills with literature review, field data collection, professional writing. And we like to share the topics of these projects with all of you to give you a sense about what it is that gets us up in the morning, what we care about as planners and geographers. I also want to let you know that we have a special type of award to announce today. We call them honors planning reports. Now, all of the graduates here today really should be proud of the hard work you put into your report. But a report that we designate with honors is truly exceptional. They combine creativity, intellectual rigor, really good writing and graphic skills, and general all-around excellence. So as we go through the graduates today, we'll share with you which students have won this award. But again, all the students should be really proud of their research. Okay, one more thing. As I said before, we're going to present our graduates in alphabetical order by last name, so you'll know who to expect. And we've all agreed, right, to stay muted throughout the ceremony. I know when your special person comes up, you're going to want to cheer. Please cheer on mute. It'll just make things better. So thank you for doing that. So alphabetically, our first graduating student is Lacey Amadei, and I was her advisor. Lindsay, thanks for the cheer, appreciate it. And I have the great honor of describing her master's planning report. And then, like I said, we'll go alphabetically through the rest of our graduates. So let me take a moment just to share my screen. All right, give me just a second. There we go, there's Lacey. Okay, there we go. Can everybody see Lacey in her report cover? Great. Just a second here. Okay, here we go. Lacey's master's planning report addressed one of the Bay Area's most challenging problems, providing affordable housing. Her research focused on one innovative solution, accessory dwelling units, or ADUs for short. These are small housing units that can be added to properties with an existing home, perhaps as an apartment over a garage or a separate small detached unit in the backyard. Lacey focused her research on the city of East Palo Alto and performed a very detailed analysis of the city's policy and programmatic measures to facilitate the development and construction of ADUs. Lacey, thanks for your great work in addressing one of our region's top priorities. Well done. Next, I'd like to present the work of Lauren Dickinson Anderson. Lauren's master's planning report zeroed in on the City of Mountain View's busy transit center. This transit center serves passengers on multiple public transit systems. Lauren was interested in something that transportation planners call the first and last mile. How do those passengers get from the station to their final destinations? Lauren's research identifies and evaluates the walkability and bikeability of the areas from which pedestrians and cyclists can conveniently access the Mountain View Transit Center. Her report concludes with specific strategies that encourage active first and last mile modes. I should also add that Lauren's report is exceptionally well designed and professional on all levels. It's really a pleasure for me to review. So Lauren, congratulations on a job very well done. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Professor Serena Anderson, to introduce our next graduate.
Thank you, Rick. Our next graduate is Inbar Berman. Are we ready? Are we ready to tackle sea level rise and coastal flooding? This is indeed an important question for Santa Cruz and all other coastal areas in California and beyond. Inbar's timely report uses a comprehensive literature review, content analysis of climate plans, and interviews with both stakeholders and professionals to assess current conditions and develop a toolkit on how Santa Cruz County should prepare for sea level rise. Inbar, may you always dare to ask tough questions and stop at nothing to resolve the most challenging planning problems. Well done.
Excellent, thank you, Serena. Let's move next to our next graduate, introduced by Professor Kerry Rohrmeyer.
Great. I'm here to introduce Evan Bradish, who is getting a Master of Arts in Geography. Evan is using advanced GIS to assess wildfire hazard severity classifications for every structure in California. Coming to SJSU following a position at CAL FIRE, he is applying field knowledge to computer models. He is working with massive data sets to run spatial analysis in both Esri and QGIS, which is an open source software platform. His work can inform each of the 58 California counties of the proportion of high and very high hazards within their jurisdictional boundaries. This means agencies and emergency services can be better prepared for future response. Congratulations.
Terrific, thank you, Kerry. Okay, my colleague, Professor Gordon Douglas, you have the next two graduates, beginning with Bonnie Chung.
Yes, indeed. So Bonnie was interested in a puzzle that I think continues to challenge planners throughout the Bay Area and beyond, which is what to do with the enormous amount of land occupied by sprawling and sometimes struggling suburban shopping centers. Embracing the ideas of retrofitting suburbia that we learned from Ellen Dunham Jones and others, Bonnie leveraged unique ideas and her strong design sensibilities in creating a thoughtful and gorgeously presented design-centric report, proposing the adaptive reuse of the McCarthy Ranch Marketplace in Milpitas, turning it into a dynamic new urban neighborhood. And I'm also pleased to say that Bonnie received honors recognition for this excellent report. Next up is Hazel. Hazel has been driven throughout our program by the pedestrian experience and understanding it better, becoming an expert in streetscape analysis. For her planning report, she wanted to understand an essential challenge that plagues cities around the world. How can we make our streets feel safer for women? Through a mixed method study, Hazel surveyed more than 100 women in San Jose, interpreting their responses qualitatively and mapping the most problematic sites, and then conducted a pedestrian environmental quality index analysis of the hotspots and proposed policy and design interventions for making them better. Great work, Hazel.
Terrific, thank you, Gordon. Let's move next to our graduate Wei-Chi Chu, who will be introduced by Professor Bill Lester.
Hi, congratulations to Wei-Chi. Wei-Chi's project is aimed at making San Jose a more vibrant place by bringing the night market experience to downtown. Popular in Taiwan, night markets bring together an array of food vendors and serve as a critical gathering place. Through a series of detailed case studies of other successful night markets in the US and Canada, Wei-Chi developed a set of best practices for the city of San Jose to consider. He then completed a comprehensive analysis of the demand and supply conditions for a night market. And then he conducted a series of GIS analysis that, as well as a review of regulatory conditions to make specific recommendations for an ideal location for a night market in downtown San Jose. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bill. Let's go back to Professor Kerry Rohrmeyer for our next graduate.
Badal Neil Dhingra is graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in Geography. He topped his undergraduate geography cohort by excelling in all of his coursework, especially in GIS and his geotechnology classes. Neil prepared several papers and projects that exceeded expectations, and he demonstrated a commitment to excellence. He completed a prestigious internship with the NASA Ames Research Division, and that was during his senior year. We'll miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. Okay, Gordon, let's go back to you to introduce Sarah and her work.
So the question that motivated Sarah is, what would it take to make San Jose's Guadalupe River Park into a real destination worthy of our city and the river that it's built on? And indeed, this motivates her work professionally with the Guadalupe River Park Conservancy on a daily basis. So combining her intimate knowledge of the park itself with careful analyses of great parks around the United States, Sarah was able to consider what is working and what isn't along the Guad, and suggest thoughtful design and policy ideas that I know have already received attention from the Conservancy. Great work, Sarah.
Great, thank you, Gordon. Professor Bill Lester, would you introduce Bo Shifu, please?
Sure, Boshi had a great project. We all want to be smarter, right? City officials and urbanists have been pushing the concept of smart cities for over 2 decades, but few cities have moved beyond a few projects here and there. Boshi's project seeks to push the city of San Jose much further by making recommendations as to how to better integrate the visionary yet vague goals set forth in its Smart Cities vision into the city's official general plan. Through detailed case studies of 4 cities in the US, Boshi developed a strong and realistic set of recommendations for the city of San Jose to consider. Join me in congratulating him. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Bill. Next, we have a gentleman we've all met already, Mr. Leyden George, introduced by Professor Douglas.
Well, it will surprise nobody to hear that Leyden's report is a sophisticated and at the same time no holds barred attack on the history and persistence of racism in many aspects of the urban planning process. Leyden's parsing of systemic racism is itself systematic. He begins by demonstrating how numerous planning elements, from residential zoning and urban annexation to the siting of transportation infrastructure and redevelopment investment, are rooted in white supremacy, and then devises a metric based on these elements by which to assess how different neighborhoods in San Jose have been impacted through a sophisticated geographic analysis. Narrowing his focus to 4 neighborhoods that he finds have been most negatively affected, Leyden then shows that all exhibit lower property values and rates of home ownership, inadequate open space, dangerous street conditions, and greater proximity to health risks. But he doesn't stop there. Bringing it home through the days of protest following the murder of George Floyd, exactly 1 year ago today, and finding numerous manifestations of hope as well. The report is deeply researched, powerfully argued, and beautifully presented, and it demonstrates just how much the legacies of racism in urban planning are things we very much still need to contend with today. Nice work, Leyden. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Gordon. You have the next 2 graduates, beginning with Caitlin Harrison.
So when I first met Caitlin in my urban design seminar, I remember her talking about how much her time living in Barcelona had shaped her love for cities and her fascination with urban design. For her planning report, Caitlin found a way to combine her time in Spain, her time at San Jose State, and her current city of Sacramento, near where she grew up. Motivated by Vision Zero, an effort in many cities to reduce pedestrian fatalities at the hands of motor vehicles, she brought ideas like walkable alleyways and pedestrian paseos, Dutch woonwerfs, COVID-inspired flex streets, and more to make the streets of Midtown safer and more pleasant too.
Great. Let's go next to Manny.
Oh, Manny. I still send Manny links to articles and studies that relate to his project, even though he finished last semester, because not only was he so passionate about it, but it is also so important. Motivated by his love for his grandmother and for physical fitness, his question was simple: how can we make our public parks better serve the older members of our community? And his report reviews public health research and universal design principles. It presents a sweeping tour of so-called senior playgrounds around the world. And then it takes an in-depth engagement with a particular site closer to home, Coyote Creek, which through his case studies, interviews, participant observation, and original design ideas, Manny proposes to revitalize as a park that truly serves everyone. Nice work, Manny.
Gordon, thank you. Okay, my turn. As you can see from this slide, Nan Lei has won an honors designation for his report. I had really a great time collaborating with Nan on his honors-winning master's planning report. Nan used a mixed methods approach to define clusters of pedestrian injuries and fatalities in San Jose, and to identify the built environment factors that contribute to the number of pedestrian injuries at an intersection level. His research included detailed GIS-based hotspot mapping, exploratory regression analysis, and interviews with key transportation planners in the city's Department of Transportation, where he interned for a while. I should also add that the quality of writing in Nan's report is exceptional, a real pleasure for me to read and review. Nan, you should be very proud of your hard work, and I very much hope that the city staff will consider your important findings. Well done. Next, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Taiying Li's work. Taiying's master's planning report focused on a topic that I know she values very highly and on a deeply personal level: designing our city's public spaces to support our older residents. Taiying embraced the term age-friendly cities and applied it to a detailed study of 3 public space locations in San Jose: one park, one well-loved commercial district in the Willow Glen neighborhood, and one popular shopping area in South San Jose. Using a detailed audit tool, Taiying carefully measured the physical qualities of each urban space and also interviewed older men and women using those spaces to determine what aspects were working for them and what might be improved. Taiying's report concludes with specific recommendations to make these public spaces more age-friendly. It was a real pleasure for me to watch Taiying's research evolve and also to see her confidence grow as an urban planner during her time in our graduate program. Well done, Taiying. Okay, I'm on a roll. I'm going to go with Gavin next. Gavin was all in on his research. He studied the linkages between micromobility and public transportation. His report begins by documenting the impact of the Bay Area's transportation system on our region's air pollution and climate change. He then notes that if the Bay Area wants to create a sustainable future, it will need to shift trips to walking, micromobility, and transit. Gavin's planning report explores the potential of micromobility to transform the transportation system by expanding the catchment of the Bay Area's frequent and reliable transit system. I really enjoyed Gavin's detailed work, and I very much hope that he'll share it with other transportation planners and keep this important conversation going. Well done, Gavin. Let's go next to my colleague, Professor Serena Alexander, who will introduce Izani's work.
Thank you, Rick. So it is my pleasure to introduce Izani Lovnet's work. Izani's planning report, Healing Through Housing, investigates the affordable housing crisis from a rather innovative and unique perspective. In California, the complexity and magnitude of the housing crisis have grown to a state where the problem requires medical attention, she writes. Her innovative report unveils how federal, state, and local governments can incentivize healthcare organizations to support long-term healing through affordable housing for low-income earners. Findings indicate that large anchor institutions, such as medical, educational, and research organizations, can play a key role in the provision of affordable housing. Also, alleviating the jobs housing imbalance is possible by building a strong partnership between the government and healthcare organization. The report offers thoughtful recommendations that can be used by communities across the Bay Area. Congratulations on your well-deserved success, Izani.
Thank you, Serena. And if everybody will note the little award in the upper right, we have some remarks coming up a bit later on that. So congratulations, Izani. Okay, Gordon Douglas, would you introduce
All
Sammy,
right.
please?
Yeah, so Sammy's project is very well timed for the moment that we're living in. Sammy loves his hometown of San Jose, but he'd been troubled by the amount of retail vacancy in downtown streets that aren't living up to their potential. So he turned to another place that he views as a model for vibrant street life, Portland, Oregon. through an in-depth analysis of more than a half century of planning and development policy there, Sammy analyzed what works and considered how to bring it home to San Jose. The result is a second set of recommendations that are even more relevant in our current context as downtown retail begins recovering from pandemic-induced shutdowns as well. Nice work.
Great, thank you, Gordon. Okay, Serena, back to you for Josh's work.
I'm sure you all agree that parks are a vital part of all cities. But how do we evaluate what a good park really is? How do we know it is providing the desired benefits to the community? Current methods of park assessment often fail to clearly predict why people choose to visit certain parks while avoiding others. Josh's report offers a novel assessment tool that meticulously measures park performance. This new tool highlights inequities within the city of San Jose's park system and can also be used in other cities that lack an appropriate park performance tool. Josh, I hope you're able to take a well-earned rest now, perhaps a walk in the park. You have earned this. Congratulations.
Great, thank you, Serena. Let's move next to our graduating student, Ralph Robinson. And Serena, once again, would you do the honors?
Absolutely. First, I'm pleased to announce that Ralph's planning report earned honors distinction, which is a recognition of student research that goes above and beyond in terms of contributions to planning scholarship or practice. Ralph's well-written, creative, and timely report focuses on how we can make the electrical grid in California more sustainable, reliable, and equitable. He conducted a comprehensive review of existing regulations for power generation and distribution in California, 7 case studies comparing publicly owned to investor-owned utilities, and several interviews with subject experts and professionals. The report offers thoughtful recommendations to enable the wide-scale adoption of public power in California as a necessary solution. Ralph, I'm sure today will be only one of many proud, successful moments for you. Congratulations today and best wishes for all of your tomorrows.
Wonderful, thank you, Serena. Okay, Gordon, you're up next to introduce Yana and her work.
Yeah, so Yana's project is a wonderful example of the real process of social science. She started out with a plan to study racial segregation in San Jose neighborhoods. And indeed, that's ultimately what she did. But along the way, she produced a powerful piece of critical geographical scholarship, combining statistical analysis, GIS, and qualitative fieldwork to demonstrate just how limited spatial data like census block groups can be, and how flawed the lines that we rely on often are when trying to analyze neighborhood level social realities, including things like segregation. So it's a lesson I think we would all benefit from considering before we draw lines or draw conclusions around our urban communities. Nice work, Jan.
Thank you, Gordon. Okay, Professor Bill Lester, your turn to introduce Roshni's work.
Great, thank you. Planners often tout the benefits of transit-oriented developments, kind of become a buzzword. It's been touted as a solution to both traffic congestion and climate change. However, many times planning agencies never actually stop to ask residents in the surrounding neighborhoods how they feel about a new transit station and the concentrated development that accompanies it. Through an original community survey of residents in the Berryessa neighborhood in San Jose, Roshni probed the community's worries about gentrification and their opinions about public transit, as well as their perceptions and fears around COVID-19. This was an especially impressive piece of survey work that was conducted in the midst of the pandemic. Join me in congratulating Roshni Saxena for an excellent project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Serena, back to you for Michael Schway's research.
Sure. Michael's planning report, Micro Units and the Housing Shortage in San Jose, examines ways micro units can be efficiently incorporated into the San Jose housing inventory, both market rate and affordable. Michael conducted in-depth analysis of public documents, case studies, interviews, and a comprehensive literature review. His findings reveal that smart growth and sustainable development are important elements to factor into new housing production. He writes, transit-oriented development allows for sensible micro-unit integration into the city, with alternative forms of transit nearby, which allows for less reliance on personal vehicles. His report offers policy recommendations to increase micro-unit production citywide and simultaneously mitigate environmental impacts. Well done, Michael.
Thank you, Serena. Bill Lester, back to you to talk about JAWS research.
Yeah, John had an amazing project. He produced a truly comprehensive evaluation of San Francisco's shared streets program. As COVID-19 radically changed the operations of thousands of restaurants and retailers in the city's commercial district, one adaptation that occurred was the changing use of streets that shifted from cars to outdoor dining spaces and spaces for safe recreation. Through a series of case studies around the globe, he elicited the best practices in terms of design and implementations. Next, he used an original survey of business owners along several of San Francisco's retail districts, coupled it with city data, and used it to shed light on how business owners feel about the program and who was able to take part. And also the GIS maps were beautiful too. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Bill. Okay, Serena, the next three graduates are yours to announce, beginning with Yannicka.
Sure. Yannicka's outstanding report also received an honors designation this year. The goal of Yannicka's report is to provide guidelines for transportation professionals to successfully implement roadway conversion projects, improving the livability of communities and building livable streets for all. Livable places are safe, comfortable, and accessible for all people to prosper, she writes, and thus we should strive to create more livable places. Yannicka's research uses a combination of 46 case studies of roadway conversion projects and interviews with project managers representing conversion projects. Let me assure you that no other comparative case study that I'm aware of has been as comprehensive with quantity and geographic dispersion of case studies through a livability and public outreach context. What else can I say? You're going to be a planning star, Yannicka. Congratulations.
Terrific, thank you, Serena. Let's go next to our graduating student, Sherry Tan.
Sure. It is impossible to describe in a few sentences how great Sherry's almost 200 pages long report really is. Needless to say, her report received an honors designation. Sherry's thoughtful, detailed, and timely report examines strategies to transform the curb functions of streets within downtown San Jose, California, to better support micro modes of mobility through increasing curb equity for bikes and e-scooters. Findings are based on a variety of research methods, including a sophisticated vector-based GIS site suitability analysis. Recommendations are not only useful for San Jose, but also other cities that are eager to establish curb equity. Today, the field of planning gains a very promising new addition. Congratulations on your graduation and best of luck in your planning career, Sherry.
Great, thank you, Serena. And if you could keep it going with introducing Leslie Trejo, please.
Absolutely. Research has shown that equitable access to parks provides communities with mental and physical health benefits, decreased crime rates, community engagement opportunities, and increased quality of life. Unfortunately, though, not all our urban communities have an equitable access to parks and open spaces. Leslie's report offers creative solutions to introduce equitable open spaces for children in San Jose through the incorporation of privately owned public open spaces, play streets, and vest pocket parks. Leslie, the field of planning needs young professionals like you who are sensitive to equities in our communities, and have the courage and determination to fight for the rights of the underprivileged. May success be with you always.
Thank you, Serena. And our final, but certainly not the least graduate, Savannah Van Aken. I wonder if Professor Gordon could do the honors, please.
Yes, indeed. So Savannah's planning report connects two of the biggest challenges facing our region: natural disasters and rising inequality, through the simple but powerful factor of where people can afford to live. Her study analyzes the relationship between household income levels and flood risk in the Bay Area, using census data and FEMA floodplain data for 9 counties. One powerful finding: if you are a low-income family in Santa Clara County, you're considerably more likely to live in a flood zone than those who can afford to live in a more affluent area. Savannah has interesting findings for other Bay Area counties as well, surprising in multiple ways. This thorough, well-written, and clearly presented piece of research can inform our thinking about not only the need for affordable housing, but where to build it. And I'm pleased to say that the Rotary Club has also recognized this remarkable work with their Affordable Housing Scholarship. Nice work, Savannah.
Great. Thank you, Gordon. So let me ask everybody, please stay muted in the chat to give your congratulations to our graduating students. And we still have a little bit more of the program to go, so stay with us, please. But we very much hope to all the graduates, please stay in touch with us as you go out into the world and do great things for our cities and neighborhoods. We're so pleased and proud of you today. I also wanted to acknowledge the graduating students who were unable to join us today, both from the Masters of Urban Planning program and our Geography program. And those students are listed here. So now we come to a very, very special part of our program, which is to take a few moments to honor our academic and scholarship award recipients. The entire faculty is thrilled to announce these first 4 recipients: Branka Tatarevic, Trevor Brown, Leiden George, and Leslie Trejo. Branka has earned a prestigious Margaret Shum Memorial Scholarship. This scholarship is given to a continuing student in our department who shows a deep understanding of the field of planning and a commitment to the planning community. Well done, Branka, and congratulations. Now, Trevor has earned a Burt Muley Scholarship. This scholarship is also given to a continuing student in our department who shows a deep understanding of the field of planning and a commitment to the planning profession. Burt Muley was a beloved faculty member in our department for nearly 20 years, and his students established this award in his honor. Way to go, Trevor. We look forward to working with you in your final semester. Once again, Mr. Leiden George. Leiden has earned a very prestigious Don and Ann Rothblatt Scholarship. And I believe Don Rothblatt might be with us here today. He's the founding father of the Urban and Regional Planning Department at San Jose State. He arrived in San Jose from Harvard in 1970 to launch the MVP program, and he served as department chair for over 30 years. The Don and Ann Rothblatt Scholarship is given to one graduating student who shows a deep understanding of the field of planning, service to the profession, and a commitment to the planning community. Leiden, we're all really proud of you for your hard work and for earning this very prestigious scholarship. And finally, Leslie Trejo. Leslie has earned a very, very prestigious David J. Powers Scholarship. It was established to honor one graduating MEP student who shows great promise in the field of environmental planning, coupled with academic excellence in our program. Based on Leslie's excellent academic work in our program and her devotion to protecting the environment for current and future generations, we could not think of a more deserving student for this scholarship. Well done and well deserved, Leslie. Way to go. Okay, now we'd like to announce award recipients from our geography program. And to do the honors, I'd like to invite my colleague, Dr. Kerry Rohrmeyer, to the stage.
Thanks. I'm thrilled to announce this year's scholarship award recipients for the geography program. They are Evan Bradish, Tuan Liu, Neil Dingra, and Lingyu Mo. Unfortunately, Tuan and Lingyu could not join us today. And you might recall Evan's wonderful research, but he's also been awarded the Fishman Wilcoxon Scholarship which was established by SJSU's Emeritus Geography faculty over the past 25 years and is given to the graduating geography student who shows the significant interest and promise in the discipline and field. We find Evan wholeheartedly embodies these traits and these characteristics through his graduate research, his prestigious internship with NASA, and his overall dedication to the discipline and advancement of geography. Tuan was awarded the Mary Jo Takeda Scholarship, which was established by Dr. Richard Takeda, an emeritus geography faculty member, in honor of his late wife, Mary Jo. This award is given to graduating geography students who have demonstrated dedication to their studies and their research and have shown commitment to the program and have made unique contributions to the discipline through their studies and independent research. Thus, we find Tuan the most worthy of his research award since he has proven to be a serious and dedicated student who explored the nexus between new high-tech industry and traditional anchor firms in Oakland, California. And he had produced some very interesting findings and outcomes from his research. Neil Dingra and Ling Yu Miao have both been awarded the Maria Henley Award, which was established by the family of the late Maria Henley. This award is given to outstanding merit, commitment, and those dedicated to the discipline of geography. We find that Neil, a graduating undergraduate, embodies the traits and characteristics through his work and his commitment to our program and his departmental student colleagues. He secured a prestigious and competitive undergraduate internship at NASA, and we will miss him dearly. Finally, Ling Yu, a graduate student, is worthy of her scholarship through her excellent course performance and her important research, which examined the influence of climate change on the sequoias in the Santa Cruz Mountains using cutting-edge GIS technology. Congratulations to all of our Geography Scholarship Award recipients. Very well deserved.
Super, thank you, Carrie. Okay, everybody, we have just a few more awards to announce, and I hope everybody is getting ready for our virtual after party. So coming up soon. But before that, we would like to now turn our attention to one of our most prestigious planning awards, the American Institute of the American Planning Association Outstanding Student Award recognizes outstanding attainment in the study of planning by a graduate student. It is the highest academic award conferred on our graduating students. This year's recipients of the APA Award are Lauren Dickinson Anderson, Gavin Lowry, and Ralph Robinson. I have personally enjoyed collaborating with all three of these fine young urban planners in a number of my courses, and all of my faculty colleagues, I think, will agree that their perfect 4.0 GPA is a testament to long hours of hard work and dedication to excellence. We are thrilled for all three of you, and hearty congratulations. Next, I'd like to introduce our newest award, the Rotary Club's Affordable Housing Challenge. And to do the honors, I'd like to welcome my colleague, Sabrina Anderson, back to the stage.
Thank you, Rick. In July 2018, the Rotary Club of San Jose, under the leadership of President Gary Shera, made a commitment to focus efforts on addressing the growing issue of homelessness and housing unaffordability in Silicon Valley. As part of this effort, in conjunction with San Jose State University President Mary Papazian and the Department of Urban and Regional Planning, the Downtown Impact Committee proposed the San Jose State University Rotary Challenge to encourage students to focus their research on helping to find solutions to the lack of affordable housing in this valley. It was November 2018 that I first met Jeff Hare. During our first conversation, we quickly realized that we agreed on two important things, which served as a basis for our successful collaboration. We both considered the housing crisis in the Bay Area unacceptable, and we both saw the opportunity to catalyze student innovation to solve the complex housing problem. Together, we worked with the Office of the President, organized an event to bring affordable housing experts to our campus, found mentors for our affordable housing enthusiasts at San Jose State University, developed community engagement projects, and finally, we are here this evening to celebrate our three recipients of the San Jose Rotary Club's Affordable Housing Challenge. Izani Nicole Lovenat, Michael Chui, and Savannah Vanakin. Their master's planning reports were selected for this award based on depth of research, creativity, and inclusion of coherent proposals for affordable housing solutions. I would like to extend a special thank you to Jeff Hare of the Rotary for his dedication and generous support over the past few semesters. Now, I have a special announcement about the Rotary Club Awards to share with Izani, Michael, and Savannah, and with everyone else here today. It is my great pleasure to announce that Izani, Michael, and Savannah will each receive a $1,000 award from the Rotary Club in recognition of their hard work, innovative research, and dedication to finding practical solutions to the Bay Area's difficult housing challenges. Izani, Michael, and Savannah, well done and congratulations. Now, I would like to return the program to my colleagues, Rick Koss, who will announce our department service awards.
Great, thank you, Serena. And Michael, Savannah, and Izani, way to go. $1,000, not bad. I hope that was a delightful surprise for all of you. Quickly, our Department Service Awards recognizes graduating students who have been actively involved in the department. Of course, there are many students in our department who help out in many ways, but this year we'd like to recognize the students you see here who have stood out during our time in the program. These students served on the executive boards of our award-winning student organizations, including the Urban Planning Coalition and Transition, or they have helped our department in other important ways as well. They did all this voluntarily on top of their coursework, on top of their jobs, on top of their internships, and they put in just a great deal of time and have contributed immensely to the department, as well as their fellow students and to the Bay Area urban planning community. Thank you to all the students shown here. We're so proud of you, and thank you so much for your service. Lastly, I'd like to quickly acknowledge the many students who have worked very, very hard to earn at least one of the graduate certificates that you see listed here on top of their master's degree. Students, you know who you are. I believe there's about 17 of you that have earned at least one of these certificates. And all of the faculty really admire your efforts to earn this certificate on top of your very valuable master's degree. Okay, we're nearing the end of our ceremony. The after party's coming up soon. Like I said, please stick around. Now I'd like to re-invite my colleague, Dr. Rama Subramanian, to the stage to help us conclude the ceremony.
Thank you, Rick. Wow, what a wonderful ceremony this has been. Even though we're all far apart on Zoom, I can sense the pride that everybody feels in this moment when our graduates who are going out into the world to create better communities that are healthier, safer, more equitable, more sustainable, and above all, more livable. In a moment, I will return the floor to our colleague, Rick Koss, for him to talk about the after party that he keeps telling us about. But in the meantime, I want to say some thank yous. So first of all, thanks to the students, the families, the friends, the support system that is so important to have to make sure that the students are successful. So thank you to all of you. Next, to the faculty. Faculty, you are amazing. Your work, your dedication in taking care of our students and thinking about them as whole people, not just as students in your classes, and engaging with them. Thank you so much for all your efforts. To our college and university, the Dean's Office, the College of Social Sciences, and thank you for your support. I will be remiss if I do not mention our administration support, Ms. Joanne Lamb and Jasmina Tamayo, because they are the backbone of our department and they support our work and our students and our faculty every single day. And so thank you to both of you. And last but not the least, Rick Koss. Rick, you are a special asset to this department, and we really appreciate all the work that you do for us in small and large ways, in visible and invisible ways. And so I know you can see the chat pouring in with the thanks. And so allow me to extend our thanks as a department to all the work that you do. So now you're going to tell these folks about the party. But before that, dear faculty, distinguished guests, students, family, friends, I'm delighted to present to you the graduating class of fall 2020 and spring 21.
Yes. Way to go, graduates. We're so proud of you. Well done, well done. Earning a master's degree is not a small feat. You did it, you did it, you did it. We're proud. Thank you. Good job. Okay, Loxine, by the way, thank you for those really kind words. You probably can see me blushing. If I could ask Lakshmi or Joanne to stop recording, I think we've reached kind of the end of the formal part of our